Hi, it's Cheryl with Caribou Country Lifestyle. We're at the end of September, and I was going to come out here and do some watering, and I thought, well, I'll just take you on a quick little tour, show you what's going on for the end of September. And so about over 2.5 weeks, well, over 2 weeks ago, I'd say 2.5 weeks ago, I heavily pruned my tomatoes because I wanted the energy to focus on the fruit and not on flowers that didn't have tomatoes on them. And since then, the tomatoes are ripening and they're coming along. So let's take a look at those first. Hey Buzz, are you enjoying the sun? Of course you are. It's the end of September and I've only had one thread of frost at a -1, wasn't even overly terribly cold. So here are my new girls tomatoes, and look at those ones. They are ripening up awesome. And then we go into the chocolate sprinkles, and they were already ripening, but we've been picking lots off of the chocolate sprinkles. Just, there's on both sides, there's clusters of tomatoes, and if I come in the back side of the new girl, you get that. Got some more ripening over here. And then if I come over here, these are the Oxheart tomatoes, and they're starting to ripen. We've actually had our first toasted tomato and bacon sandwiches, and they were wonderful. Here I have the natural black cherry, and they were already starting to ripen as well, and we picked lots off of those also. I'm gonna start taking off the bottom leaves of my Brussels sprouts, so then it can focus on the Brussels sprouts, because I've got a few little Brussels sprouts in there. So I'm gonna take off those bottom leaves and also take off this top leaf as well, and then it can focus on the actual Brussels sprouts. And there's my celery. I've tied up my cauliflowers just to get them so that they are able to blanch, and we'll see how that goes. I haven't been very successful with cauliflower yet. There's the back side of my Oxheart tomatoes that are ripening, and then I have more celery. My Morning Glory doesn't have any flowers on it today. Then we have the Denver half-long carrots. I've been picking lots of these, taking them to work and eating them in my lunch. But look at this. I thought this was a Floristan sunflower, and I looked and it's actually called a Color Fashion sunflower. And they can be a bicolor, which is 2 colors, or a tricolor, which is 3. And looking at that, I think it's only the bicolor, the 2 colors. So that's absolutely beautiful. I would plant those again. And my zinnias. I cut back my pumpkin plant. I've got one pumpkin right in here. And it's getting big. My corn's not quite ready to pick yet, but it's coming along. I think the 10-day forecast again is supposed to be nice, so that's why I need to come out and do some watering. I even picked some of my dill heads. I ended up giving them to a friend so she could use it for making pickles. These are the Amish paste. They still haven't decided to start ripening. I've got a few down in here too of the Amish paste. These cherry tomatoes, been picking those. Lots of them are ripening now. Still got a couple of zucchinis coming in on my green zucchini, and then I have right there is a little Peter Pan squash. I don't know if you can see it right there hanging down. That's almost ready to be picked. And then we have rutabagas. Some of them are definitely, let's lift those up, bigger than the others. I ended up picking out some kohlrabi plants. They just weren't producing any kohlrabi. I only have this one, and I could pick that anytime now. In the back, these tomatoes are the Brandywine, and they've started to ripen. And then over here is the Aunt Molly's German Green, and they're actually a yellow tomato, orangey yellow tomato with little green stripes in it. And we actually had one of those with a tomato sandwich, and it was awesome. Going to be picking my jalapenos. They have been turning red, but I got a bunch of tomatoes as well, some heirloom tomatoes, the San Marzano. I ended up purchasing some, and I want to make salsa with that. I just don't know if I'm going to have enough tomatoes for all the uses that I want with them. That's the cheddar cauliflower. And then my broccoli. I cut the center head off of it, and it hasn't really been sending out any side shoots that I have seen. The atomic red carrots, don't have very many of those left. We've really enjoyed those a lot. And then of course lots of kale, still looking really good. Kale's just one of those vegetables that does very well in the summer and in the cold. And all of my beets. I was gonna plant garlic, but I don't have an empty bed yet to be planting my garlic. And in here we have the solar yellow carrots and the purple haze carrots. These are my pole beans, and I snipped the bottoms off of them, so I'm going to be taking those vines down. Still have lots of annual bunching onions. And my Chinese toy choys, I'm going to be bringing that in and saving the seeds from that, which I've saved a few seeds so far, but the rest haven't been drying out, but I see that it's drying out a lot faster now. Now over here, this one is the Floristan sunflower, and I've got 3. I cut one off already that was finished. And of course my snap peas are going to be at the end here. I've got a few peas on them. I'll pick those off, and I'm going to be cleaning out these 2 beds, the ones with the beans and the Swiss chard, and also the peas and this Chinese toy choy, because I don't need those in there anymore. And some of my Scorpio cabbage, some of the heads split, so I picked out 3 of the heads of cabbage, and this last one, it hasn't split. So what I did was I gave it a couple of turns. So what I do is I just took the cabbage and I just turned it 2 turns, and then what that does is it prevents the cabbage from splitting, and that way this one I can still keep in the garden, but it shouldn't split. So that's the reason why I've twisted that, to keep it in the garden and have it not split on me. These are my yellow pear tomatoes, and I have a leek. These yellow pear tomatoes, like the clusters of tomatoes on those are just insane, but they haven't started ripening. And then here, this is my Tabasco pepper. I actually have a couple of little Tabasco peppers coming off of that. And then on this side, this is the cayenne pepper. Now last year, I had this cayenne pepper and I do not remember it having these pretty purple flowers on it. And last year, my peppers started out green and these ones are like almost black, a purpley black. So I don't know what's happening this year. There is my German green, the old German tomato, and the top, I just have to wait for the silly trucks to go by because it's so noisy. The top I broke off and I stuck it in the ground over here on the side, and look at this. It actually is got 2 little tomatoes on it. I was just like blown away when I seen that. Here is my Satsuma hybrid orange pepper, and it's like a bell pepper, a sweet pepper, and it's just started producing peppers on it, so hopefully we can get through and have those mature. There's my eggplant, my French breakfast radishes, and also this cute, I'm gonna come on the other side, can't really get a good look at it. Look at that. I have just a beautiful purple flower. Let's see if I can get a little closer. Look at that. That's just, I would just grow that just for the flowers. Okay, so there you have it. There's my little bit of a garden tour. Like I say, I want to plant my garlic, and I'm thinking that I don't want to put it in the same bed that I put it in last year. I want to be able to put it into a different bed this year. So I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like. I just don't know. I don't want to, well, I guess I could. What I could do is once I clean out these 2 beds, I could put it in one of these 2 beds. And then with the arbor, what I could do is I could put the arbor over here on those 2 beds and put those 2 panels on those 2 beds. Something to think about. That's the thing about gardening. You gotta have a plan. And what I usually do is I will have it mapped out on paper. But because I'm planting my garlic in the fall, I need to figure out where I'm putting my garlic, and then I can figure out what I'm going to do with my beds in the spring and work that around my garlic. So I think I'm going to go with that. Plan was I'll empty out those 2 beds with my snap peas and my beans because they're done, whereas my tomatoes and a lot of these other plants aren't ready to be pulled out yet. So I think that is my plan for this fall. So I have my garlic and it's all dried. I had it in the back shop. It's all dried up. So it's ready to be planted. I can start using it in my cooking as well. And I will be doing a video about that. So I'm gonna go and get my watering done. I need to get that done. And also I am going to be just kind of adding some compost into my beds. Once I get those 2 beds cleaned out, Jamie has a bunch of compost for me. I should actually show you that. So I'm coming up over here in the back corner of our yard. And what Jamie has done is he has all of this under the black plastic. I don't know how many feet that is. It's probably about 8 feet by 40 or 50 feet long. So he figures he's got about 9 yards of compost for me. And I'm just like, yeehaw. Us, we also have 3 compost bins. No, 2 compost bins. One of the compost bins, because we are at the end of September, and that we have been having a lot more bear sightings around here. And so where we have our dog kennel and off of our house down at the basement door, I have a black compost down there, and I put all my kitchen peels, scraps, coffee grounds, all of that in that back compost, and I add to that throughout the winter. So, because we don't really, you know, this compost, a lot of it's going to end up getting used this fall. I'm going to be amending all my raised beds with the compost, so I'm very excited about this whole compost. So anyways, we have a compost bin at the back of our house and where the kennel is, and the gate is always closed. So we were just in Bella Coola for 4 nights. We did some fishing. We ended up getting 2 coho salmon, so that was really awesome. And so it was a really nice, relaxing weekend with family. And we came back, and Jamie, actually it was my son Austin who noticed that that compost bin at the back door was broken and there was compost strewed everywhere. So Jamie said, well, it's probably the bear. And I was like, well, how the heck would the bear get in there? There's a fence. There's a gate. The gate was closed. He says, bears can climb. I was like, well, okay, yeah, I guess they can. So I was just surprised that this bear would go to those lengths to be able to get to this compost. So he had compost strewed everywhere. So Jamie had to clean all of that up and put it back into the compost bucket or the compost bin, and he ended up moving it to a different spot and put it back together again, because now we're babysitting Cole, our grand fur baby, and that's where he spends most of his time, is out in the kennel. So we had to clean all of that up so that he wouldn't get into it himself. But at least it's been dealt with and it's been cleaned up also. So that's the thing about living out in the rural area. You have bears, you have deer, you have moose, you have rats, you name it. You could have, we've had cougar sightings in this area. So it's, but that's okay. As long as you're aware of it and you take the precautions, then you will be fine. So anyways, I'm going to cut this video off now. I think I've done enough talking, and thanks for joining me. If you like this video, put a like in there. If you haven't subscribed, you might want to subscribe too. So anyways, that's it for today, and thanks for joining me, and we'll talk to you again. Bye for now.